We finally know the reason why the Tigers didn't want to trade Jack Flaherty in the AL Central. They didn't want to have to face him in the ALDS, obviously.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
Booking.yeah. On today's Locked On Guardians, bring on the Tigers. It's getting real. I'm just glad we have an opponent. It's starting to feel real finally. I'm jazzed up. Let's go. Let's start the series right now. It feels real now. There's an opponent on the other side. I think we've been just going through the motions here recently. So as much as we wanted this series to go 3 games, I'm ready to play baseball. I'm not playing baseball, but I'm ready to watch more baseball right now. We'll talk about bringing on the Tigers, the importance of momentum, experience, familiarity, all that good stuff. Game planning for the Tigers, hitting, and we'll see how the Tigers pitching is planning to line up against the Guardians.
For those of you who do not know me, I'm Jeff Ellis, one of your 2 hosts here. Before this, I was one of the original hosts, I should say, of Locked On MLB. Before this, I was a nationally recognized draft and prospect analyst. I was pulling out the receipts today, showing where I was calling Tarik Skubal a sleeper all the way back when he was the moment he was drafted. I was like, oh, this is a great pick by the Tigers. And then, before that, yesterday I was your 20th favorite baseball writer because on October 1st in 1969, Louis Tion lost 20 games the year after he had won 21 games. It's quite the dichotomy. And today I am your 4th favorite writer at every Cleveland sports blog that has or will exist.
Well, we know pitcher wins and losses definitely mean something. And that might have meant more back then, I suppose.
Yeah, you went later. You had more control. It definitely has lost its effect over time, I think.
Oh, no doubt. It might have had some better effect.
Yeah.
Back then.
We'll never have another 300 winner. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007. Where I boldly proclaimed that Bo Mills was going to be a great first baseman in the future, along with Michael Aubrey, all those other names. So Jeff's got those receipts. I've got those receipts. We see who's cashing those in and who is trying to pick up cans. I don't know. I've been writing those for Guardians Baseball Insider in the past before I let that site die. So really padded my stats there. And now at the News Herald and the Morning Journal. All right, Jeff, are you ready for the Tigers? I just feel like I have a whole different energy and mindset now that there's an opponent. I feel like the last couple of days we've been doing the show, we've been looking at all these stats, we're looking at different angles to cover things, trying to get insights, watching baseball. At least I've been watching a ton of baseball, and this time of year to me, especially this
wish I could say the same.
Yeah, I know. To me, this time of year in the wild card series, I love the wild card series. It's really weird. But I love the wild card series because it reminds me of March Madness, where the first day or two there's baseball on from the afternoon to the night, and it's chaos and it's fun and it's random. It's the only 2 things that can really get me hyped besides Ohio State football, and I'm ready. But now there's an opponent for the ALDS for the Guardians. It feels real. Like I said, I'm ready to run through a brick wall. I am ready for ALDS baseball and in Cleveland, and all I can say is thank God the Guardians got a first-round bye, because looking at that series, all I can think of is randomness. Like the Astros, who have been on a great run for the last several years, have a very good core. They've ran into Tarik Skubal, who is a machine, absolute machine. You lose that game, and you figure, well, we've got the advantage the next 2 days, but you run into some randomness. The Tigers bullpen dominated. They scored enough runs. Hunter Brown was great, but the bullpen for the Astros was not great, and that was supposed to be one of their strengths. And you just run into randomness this kind of year. I'm looking at San Diego right now. They got a home run yesterday. I'm sorry, they got a home run on Tuesday and Wednesday from Kyle Higashioka. Garrett Mitchell just hit a home run for the Brewers to send them to Game 3. There's so much randomness this time of year. The less games you can play, getting that bye is so important. I know people are like, oh, the rest isn't good. You got to prepare. Just be prepared to play, and Thank God you're not subject to the whims of a 3-game series. 5 and 7 game series are random enough.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I've seen in our comments. People be like, "Oh, this team doesn't have the postseason experience, or this team isn't great against." There's so much doom and gloom, and it's exhausting because it's like, guess what happened yesterday? Every team that had the least amount of postseason experience won their matchup. Every single team that had the least amount of postseason until this Mets game. If Milwaukee pulls it out, I assume they will with 2 outs here in the 9th. But if they pull this off, that'll be 1 out of 8 games where the most experienced team has won. So there is high variance, and it's about matchups. It's still shocking to me. I have the data pulled up over here. Over here. I was looking in the wrong corner. Detroit versus lefties this year, an 88 weighted runs created plus against righties, a 97. Talk about how Kerry Carpenter is a top 3 hitter for them who has to ride the pine when they face a lefty. I still don't understand why you go out and you pay all that money for Kikuchi, why you're not leaning into the split. Why? I mean, I know Hunter Brown was fine and the pen blew up on him, but still, it's like, man, that is a team that needed. And then, the Josh Hader and the lefty, and it blew up in their face. But yeah, it's just that's we would say it's the randomness of it, but you also did some deep digging, which we'll get into, about like why Ibanez was a bad fit in that situation, but could be a good fit in Cleveland's in terms of the pen. We have a lot of great data on the show. We're gonna really kind of explain how Cleveland can win this series. When it comes to Tarik, for that one listener, Skubal. He's fantastic. He's the best pitcher in the American League. He might be the best pitcher in baseball. But Cleveland also, last time they faced him, had 10 hits off of him. Like, he's not immortal. There's not, I would argue there's not even like that level of like when Kluber, that high tier 1 that we had a few years ago. I don't know if anyone's in that. I know Skubal and Sale did things that guys don't do most years, but I don't know if there's anyone who I really put in the like, oh no, we're facing Verlander, I don't think we have a chance, or oh no, it's Max Scherzer. Like, is there anyone in that tier to you right now?
I think Skubal is in that tier. I do. I think he's just really good. He's got the fastball, the changeup, the curve's nasty. He threw a 94-mile-an-hour slider against the Astros. He's absolutely nasty. So I do think he just hasn't had the runway yet as those guys. I think the reason you're thinking that, maybe, to me, is that he hasn't had the experience yet. But I think as he builds his resume, you're going to think of him that way. The stuff is just absolutely disgusting. Like,
I think some of it's his health history.
Yeah, there's that too, and it took him some time
to get those reps. But no, I can see that. Like, I mean,
the resume was better for Scherzer and Verlander, and they've done it a long time, so I could see that. Here's the other thing too that just is just wild to me about the postseason too is the Brewers are forcing a winner take all game 3, right? The Mets, besides that game 3 between the Mets and Brewers on Thursday, there's been only one game 3 of the wild card series since this format started in 2022, and that was Padres Mets. The Royals swept the Orioles by scoring 3 runs, by the way. They scored 3 runs. And this is just how much randomness is a pain in the this time of year.
Let's be honest, Baltimore
they won 2 games over the Orioles.
Baltimore was imploding in the second half. Like, I think there is a degree of like, Baltimore's pen was bad. I mean, Adley Rutschman was barely a league average bat in the second half, which is just shocking. Like, it's a weird team, a weird situation. I also have to throw this out there. For as much as we like look at internal matchups, both Kansas City and Detroit were 2-4 against the teams they knocked out. They went 2-0 in the season. They had a 33%. Yes, it's a small sample, but they were 2-4 against those teams, and they had no problems really eliminating them. So, again, what have we talked about since before the season began? You just got to make it. The postseason's a crapshoot. Anything can happen. 2016 showed it to us. Last year showed it to us when, frankly, like, no one expected the World Series to be the 2 teams that it was. You just got to have the ability to think you can do it. Like, I think Detroit's confidence is a big deal right now. I think, thinking you're always in it it just keeps the doubt from creeping in. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting series overall. It's, and again, for everyone who also wanted to crap on the American League Central, 3 out of 4 teams in the ALDS.
Where's Harold Reynolds right now? I want to know where Harold Reynolds is right now. I said this back on June 25th, by the way, when the Guardians had the best record in baseball. Harold Reynolds was on MLB Tonight that night talking about how He didn't believe in the Guardians. He didn't, not just the Guardians. They had the best record in baseball. He didn't believe in the AL Central. I tweeted this from our account, and he said, I don't buy the AL Central. He goes, you're telling me the Guardians are as good as the Red Sox, the Orioles? And then he's talking about and then Yonder Alonso was defending the Central, saying the Guardians are legit, the Royals are good, and he's talking about the Twins. Nobody was talking about the Tigers, which is wild. And then this is how much I love baseball. But Harold Reynolds was like, I don't see them being any better. Like he said, they're not as good as the Red Sox, not as good as the Rays. Neither of those teams in the playoffs, okay? 3 AL Central teams against Yankees right now to go to the World Series. I want to know where Harold Reynolds is right now. Jeff, we talked about how we wanted to face the Tigers. I'm going to ask you on the other side if we actually are ready for the Guardians to face the Tigers. Officially, Locked On Guardians today is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Are you ready to explore Detroit? Are you ready for Game 3 in Detroit? Are you going to get that hotel in Detroit? If you're going to do it through Booking.com. Easy trip. You don't got to go to Houston. You can drive from Cleveland or from Oregon if you're like our buddy Siege. Go out there. You can find all kinds of hotels. It can make you even a fan of your U.S. rivals, even Detroit. I haven't been to that stadium. My wife really liked it. I don't think it's in the cards for us in the ALDS. I'd love to. I think one day I do want to get up there. When that day comes, I will be going with Booking.com. I've already used it for my Cooperstown trip. I'm going to do it for future Cooperstown trips. It is the best way to do baseball in the U.S. Really, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Check out our pal over at Locked On MLB. That's Sully. I know he's going to have the breakdown of all these wild card games, all the wildness. Game 3 for the Mets and the Padres. Wow. The Mets and the Brewers. I know he's going to have all that and more. Probably a lot on the TV deal because I know Sully used to be in TV, and the TV deal, we'll talk about that maybe today or tomorrow. He's going to have all that for you over at Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Jeff, we said it. We wanted the Tigers over the Astros. The Tigers, quote unquote, have momentum. You just said it before that they believe they can win, and maybe they're too inexperienced to know any better about the postseason at this point. But are you really ready for the Guardians to face the hottest team in baseball? Yes. How good do you really feel now that the opponent's set?
I think, there's a few things. First off, having driven up and gone to a Tigers game, it's a great stadium. I still miss old Tiger Field, having those cages, playing Ken Griffey Jr. baseball back in the day. It's the same reason like I loved Kansas City. It's like the fountain stood out. The caged outfield stood out. I've still been to more games at Old Tiger than current, but I just want to throw that in. My 2 cents. Comment on your favorite stadiums below. The upside to facing Houston is 2 out of 3 starters are lefties, and this team is significantly better against left-handed pitching. Like that is one of those situations that, like, the Tigers bullpen is just weird. Like it's half that bullpen is spent half the year in AAA. I have a hard time really judging. I don't think Jason Foley is all that good. Like the data around him is not all that strong. For a second there, I was like, the Tigers are going to ruin Jackson Joby. In this one game, like this is going to go so sideways that we're going to have a Rick Ankiel moment, but they got out of it thanks to switching up and getting the double play off of Kyle Tucker of all guys. I think you're looking at bullpens are similar-ish because Houston's is probably a little bit better, at least name value. Lineup, Houston definitely had an advantage. And then starting pitching, Houston, it's weirdly similar. And people will be like, no, that's not true. But when you look at when you're facing Cleveland, for Cleveland, they're going to be weirdly similar because Tarik Skubal is just Tarik Skubal is he's on another plane. I say he's probably might be the best pitcher in baseball. And then after that, it's like the Holton thing can really kind of wreak havoc. I talked about that this week, how ways to approach them doing the opener. And then, Casey Mize has been more of a 4-5 this year. Reese Olson was great and then got hurt and then was just kind of okay when he came back. So I wanted to face them just because the lineup is nowhere near as strong. Like, that is a big change. And the pitching is weirdly even from a Guardians perspective in my mind.
Yeah, for all that the Tigers did in the second half, and really from August 1st on, after they decided to trade away Jack Flaherty, their WRC plus as a team was 99. Cleveland's was 96 from August 1st on, and that includes obviously a miserable month of August. I know people are going to disagree with this. I know specifically which commenters are going to disagree with this, and I think you'll disagree with this because I've been saying it. I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to back down from this. The Tigers, again, I know I look stupid because they won the first round series against the better team in Houston. Or, sometimes being the hotter team is better than being the better team. What is it better to be lucky than good, right?
I disagree with you on this point. I do.
I know you
do.
do.
Be honest.
I think at some
point
the Tigers' momentum is going to crash just because, again, they've expended all. I've said this before. They've expended all this energy to get here and this effort to make it where they are now. I don't believe in momentum because I believe in the adage of baseball that momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. So when Tarik Skubal's on the mound, the Tigers have all the momentum because that guy can shut Houston down. He can shut anybody down. So it's imperative for the Guardians to win any non-Tarik Skubal start, obviously, in this series. But that's where I believe momentum exists. And
go ahead.
I don't even believe experience matters either, because go back to 2016. Who had experience in the playoffs for Cleveland in 2016? It was a couple of guys who were around for the 2013 wild card. It was Mike Napoli. That was pretty much it. Corey Kluber, no postseason experience. Andrew Miller had some. Cody Allen had some innings out in the 2013 wild card. Jose and Lindor had none. I'm sorry, Jose was a bench player in 2013 on that playoff roster. Carlos Santana was there. Yan Gomes was there. They had one game of playoff experience. The Tigers had a couple of games from Matt Vierling of playoff experience. So experience doesn't matter either. Momentum doesn't matter because it's all about that day starting pitcher. And my other question about the series too, because we're going to get into Tanner Bybee taking the ball game one, which I'm really excited about, by the way. How much does familiarity matter? Because Tanner's faced the Tigers 4 times this year. And obviously Cleveland and Detroit have played each other 13 times this year, with Cleveland coming out on top 7 times out of 13. I don't even know if that matters, because everything is different in the postseason. You're subject to randomness. You have much more in-depth scouting reports. You're going to have specific plans of attack. Like I said, the randomness factors in. Go back and look at the past. I don't think in 2016 Cleveland beat the Red Sox in the regular season. They swept them. I know for a fact in 2007.
They were 2-4 against the Red Sox that year. So the same as the 2 teams in the first round this year.
Yeah. And then I remember 2007 specifically, Cleveland did not beat the Yankees one time in the regular season, and they took that series in 4 games. None of the regular season stuff matters. You can take all the stuff you've learned.
So I'm going to strongly disagree in a second. Very strongly disagree. So I think the reason momentum matters is the same reason we have sports psychologists. Like, it's not necessarily about this is a team at the deadline. Think after the Flaherty deal, they looked defeated. They looked dead on the ground. That day after everything happened, this looked like a team that was going to mail it in. And then they started to find success. And, I think we've all been there. Once you start doing something well, your confidence gets up. You think you can do it. And even if you lose, you're like, well, okay, that's a loss. We can still come back. We just won the last series. I think all of this momentum has just been, the best sports psychologist situation possible. It's just build up their confidence. Like, I think they can have something roll off of them. I think they're now to the point that they've done so much that if something goes wrong, like it happened in today's game, when, it could have gotten massively away from them. Hit batter, walk, single, bases loaded, one, nobody out. And they work their way through it and they believe in themselves. And then instead of being down, they come out and take a huge lead in the next half of the inning. And we've seen a lot of teams at points this year appear to be down. We've seen Cleveland even at points, the first half looked like they were never going to quit. They're never going to be down. But we also saw them do the complete opposite at points where it looked like, in a year ago, more specifically, we saw that where it's like, oh, it's 2 runs. We can't do it. Like, they're the same team almost as a year ago offensively. There are some tweaks and things that make them better. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of similar pieces. So I think, momentum, just like the idea of like, it being this driving force of winning a bunch of games in a row, maybe not. Maybe I agree with you there. But I think the act of what all of this has done has just raised their confidence level to a point where they can't overcome. They never think they're out. They're going to keep fighting, 1 run, 2 runs. They always think they're in it. They always think they can come back. There's no quit. And we saw basically Houston quit today, right? We saw Baltimore quit weeks ago. Like, these are teams that just did not seem to think that they could do it. So I think like strict momentum, the idea of like it going forward and then you lose and it's over. Yeah, that doesn't exist. The win streak doesn't make you better, but the win streak raises your confidence, raises what you think you can do. And, it's a lot of fun because you look at these teams, like we got so mad at the deadline. It's like, oh, why didn't the Mets sell? The Mets nearly advanced this round. The Tigers did sell, but they got an upgraded shortstop in doing it. It's really interesting to kind of look at how these teams who are there got there. But I think the momentum matters because it has helped turn the Tigers into a team that on July 30th or July 30th, 31st. I can't remember which day the deadline was now. It feels like it's not on the it was the 30th, not the 31st. Yeah, it's like they look like a defeated team on the field that day. That was the talk. Like, this team isn't even trying anymore when Cleveland finished them off in that series. And now, and I had to listen to the game. I couldn't watch due to it being on ABC and my antenna not getting that. But it's like just the way you hear the announcers talk and everything, like that team never stopped believing in themselves. And I don't think we saw that with some other teams in the playoffs.
So you believe confidence and momentum are the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. If that's the way you believe it, I can buy it. I don't think they are. I think confidence is one thing, but I think collectively as a team, momentum, having Tarik Skubal, put you on his back, and then a bunch of bullpen games and just enough offense, which by the way is not a ton different than what Cleveland wants to do. It's going to hope for 6 innings of Tanner Bybee, and then a time or two through the order for everybody else, and then the bullpen comes in on the horse, and then you just do enough runs to win that game. The game plans aren't different necessarily. Cleveland probably will not deploy an opener. I shouldn't say that so confidently, but
I think they might. I still think there's a chance of that.
They might. We'll see. Be curious to see who it might be. I keep putting Hunter Gaddis in that situation, but
no, you got to save your back end for your back end. You don't mess with those big.
Gaddis has the experience of a starter. It doesn't matter. I don't believe momentum and confidence are the same thing. I think those are two different things, and all that matters out there is who's on the mound for you that day, and can you get a little bit lucky, especially this time of year. All right. Jeff thinks I already made myself look stupid with that comment.
No. I don't think you made yourself look stupid. Not at all. I do not think. I just have a different point of view.
That's okay. I'm gonna make myself look really stupid before the show ends today. So if you're still watching, you're gonna want to keep watching because I'm gonna make myself look stupid before the end of today's show. As we wrap up, we're gonna talk about planning for the Tigers hitting and how the Tigers pitching game plan looks like it's coming together for the Guardians. So stick around for that, or to see me sound like a bigger idiot than normal.
But first, let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel. It's fun right now. Like, I was going through and looking at they're updating the odds constantly, like to record a hit. I see 3 old friends right now with their Shilla and Laureano and near old friend Sean Murphy. You can record 2+ spaces. It's updating and changing as the game goes on. You can find something that works for you. In terms of the ALDS over here, they don't have Cleveland up, but they have Kansas City at -130 and New York at +102. I really like New York in that series. I have to be honest. New York seems like maybe a little bit of a cut above, but if you're an NFL fan, you can start the season with the big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. What I was just talking about, basically. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That is the best offer we have ever had from FanDuel. So if you've been on the fence before, now is the time to jump. When you place your first $5 bet, I'm probably going to do this. I haven't done it yet. It's not necessarily my thing, but that's just too good of a deal. So again, that's FanDuel.com. And Prize Picks. So what is exceptionally fun to me about Prize Picks is it's simple. The simplicity of Prize Picks is what stands out. You're just picking more or less in 2 to 6 stat categories. They've recently brought in this idea of flex play so that even if not all of your points hit, you can still win money if you have a certain amount that hit. And they're all about your security. They put their members first because they know that you got to keep your members happy. And that's why withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. So they mention here, like, if you think that Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards, Christian McCaffrey run for more than 75.5, those could be good ones this week. And I always like when they do some of their special deals like Trolls and Goblins. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. You sign up for both these services, you're getting $250 bonus. But in this case, you get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. So, again, I would just want to stress, head over to PrizePicks today, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
Catch all the postseason action on your SiriusXM app. Just search for every team you want to listen to the game for. You want to listen to game 3 of Mets Brewers, search them. And on Saturday, if you can't make the game, if you're not in front of your TV, search Guardians on your SiriusXM app to hear the call all postseason long. So Tanner Bibby's going in game 1. I said I don't think what he did in the regular season matters against them because in the regular season, you are pitching to your game plan. You got game plans against those hitters, but you're kind of going out there and trying to feel your way through those games. You got a certain game plan. In the postseason, all that's turned up a notch. You're looking for very specific things against each individual hitter, what works, what doesn't work. Let's start real quickly with you want to start with the Tigers hitters or the Guardian or Tanner Bibby's or the Tigers pitching plan?
Well, why don't you pick? I feel like you did more of the data here, so I'm going to give it to you. So because I've just got the hitter. I have the hitters and then some ideas on how to approach their pitching plan.
Yeah, let's talk about the Tigers pitching plan. So somebody on Twitter posed to me, would the Tigers consider starting Tarik Skubal on short rest on Saturday and then bringing him back on full rest for game 4? And I thought that was an interesting idea. I wouldn't necessarily bet against it, but I know he's never done it before. The Guardians did it with Corey Kluber in 2016. That was really out of necessity. This might be out of necessity too. I would not put it past him. I don't think they're going to do it, but I wouldn't put it past him because he would come back for game 4 again. Would come back for game 4 on full rest on Thursday because Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday he'd hit a full rest on game 4. Otherwise, it's 2 and 5.
I think there's value in 2 and 5. I don't see any reason to risk it personally. That's me though.
Maybe. I'm not necessarily. But
it lines them up perfectly for the old Chinese horse racing drill of putting your best starter in game 2. Like by game theory, you should put Skubal in game 2 and not game 1.
Yeah, it does. So if he goes in game 2, it looks like game 1 will be a bullpen game and Reese Olson behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's going to be Skubal after that. And then after that, it'll probably be again bullpen game, and I'm guessing Casey Mize and everybody else. And then after that, you'll have bullpen game, and maybe Keeter Montero might be added to the roster. Maybe they'll go with somebody else. I don't know. And then after that, again, it's obviously Skubal. For Cleveland, you have to win the non-Skubal start. So that means winning game 1 and winning game 3 and win game 4. So I don't think the Guardians want this to go to a game 5. That's the way I think the Tigers pitching.
So that's all the more reason then to not throw Tanner in those Skubal games, right? If those are the ones you're counting on. I'm just saying again to go back to the
Tanner's the game 1 starter.
I know he's the game 1 no matter what. But
you could and Tanner can come back for game 4 as well,
Mm-hmm.
so you wouldn't have to face Skubal in the Tanner game either. You're right, absolutely.
Both of these teams have some big question marks after their aces, so it is interesting to see. Like this is the of all times, this is really that time to do the unusual thing. Have your ace get 2 starts. Like Detroit should have him go 2 and 5. Like that is
gonna have Tanner 1 and 4.
1 and 4, right? Like that gives you your best advantage in that series.
Yeah. As for the Tigers pitching, so in game one, I think that the plan for them is to go Tyler Holton out of the chute. And that's interesting because Cleveland's got obviously an advantage against lefties. So does Stephen Vogt and the Guardians, did they roll out Lane Thomas and David Fry with Tyler Holton on the mound, knowing that likely Reese Olson is coming out of the bullpen behind him, and then you'd have to go to, Kyle Manzardo and, Will Brennan, whoever, I assume Fry would start at DH, and then I don't know how you would have Fry and Manzardo in the lineup together. That might be kind of hard, actually. Or I'm sorry, not Fry. Lane Thomas in the outfield. Would you go to Will Brennan, and would you go to, would you have Noel out there?
I think.
Then,
okay, go ahead.
And then you go to Reese Olson for the bulk innings. Maybe you have the right-handed lineup in there. You have the Lane Thomas and David Fry in there, and then you got to pinch hit Manzardo. Then you got to pinch hit Will Brennan, whatever. And then the Tigers have Brant Herter and Sean Gunther, who are lefties, come out of the pen. Well, guess what? You took your righties out of the game when Reese Olson came in. So I think the Tigers have quite the advantage in seeing if they can throw the Guardians game plan off for the lineup. Do you plan for, and we can get into this more tomorrow because we might know more tomorrow. Do you plan for, okay, let's try to ambush Tyler Holton if he's the opener with Lane Thomas and David Fry and try to beat up the lefty because we're good at that? Or do you put in Manzardo and Will Brennan, knowing that you're going to see Reese Olson the bulk of the time, and then knowing that at the end, Brant Herter and Sean Gunther might factor in, you can still pinch hit David Fry and John Kenzie Noel and all that stuff. I think Thomas is starting anyway.
Yeah, you do none of those things is the answer to be successful.
You mix and match?
What you're doing instead, because if you go and you look at Holton, he only went more than 3 innings, like 2 times in the second half, and I'm not even sure, if he started those games. He's been essentially max a 6 out guy. So, and today he was a 1 inning guy. So if you're facing him, you set up the first half of your lineup with, Quan, Thomas, Jose, Naylor, and then honestly make your 5-hitter be, you're gonna, maybe at 5 you have Jimenez, who didn't hit lefties as well this year, but has in the past. You're making it like maybe 6 is Manzardo. Like, so you're keeping that right-handed lineup in, but you flip-flop some order spots. So you have you're powered against the lefty. You keep your flexibility because we know they're going to, like I said, Olson max. He's not going to even get through the entire lineup. He's not. That's not the plan for him. It is only to get the first 6 guys out. So you line up your team. You may be top heavy a little bit in terms of your guys who hit lefties, but you're not going to throw Fry in there necessarily. You keep Manzardo because Olson's going to give more innings. That's the guy. And then that keeps the flexibility late. So I think you shift your lineup for the opener, but you're not going to go all in like it's lefty, and you're not going to ignore it either. You're going to set up so you can take advantage of the situation. Manzardo and Fry were great in the 2 old spots this year, later in the year when they kind of kept that going. I think this is where you have to be flexible. This is where you have to be adaptable. You can't just, no, this is what we know. No, like adjust and take full advantage of the situation and keep your flexibility.
This is a situation where I wish David Fry was still able to catch.
Yes.
Because that enhances this flexibility. But unfortunately, we're not going to know until the season's over how bad this elbow thing is. And I still will not be surprised if he has Tommy John, because they're not letting him do anything catcher wise. And there's no plan to do so at this point, I've heard. So, yeah, I think you're right. Hedging your bets is interesting. Manzardo 5 behind Naylor scares me a little bit, because
that's what I was thinking. Maybe like 6, like 6, put Jimenez in between, or
that's still 3 lefties, even though I know Jimenez is
traditionally, or it's like if you're gonna run this team and Lane Thomas is your center fielder, which he's been for various points, maybe you put John Kenzie at 5, and to break it up. Or no, wait, he's a lefty. He's a righty, right? He's a righty. So maybe you put him there to break it up a bit, and then you Manzardo at 6. It's him or Brennan.
You leave Brennan on the bench to pinch hit against a righty.
Yeah, like when Olsen comes in, and that's the thing. It's like in that situation, then when Olsen comes in, Brennan should come in. Like just like basically like Detroit did with Kerry Carpenter. Like you want because as much as you and I were like, listen, Noel needs to play every day. It was not a great final few weeks. I don't think he's done anything to guarantee consistent playing time right now, especially in the postseason. So I think, yeah, you should be flexible. But I think more than anything else, you want to be flexible. You don't want to overcommit. You want to keep some of those options because Detroit is going to deploy their full pen. And the important thing is getting a lead, and then it doesn't, I feel like it's going to be like first to 3 runs in most of these games.
Yeah. Well, we know 2 things for certain. Yeah. 3 or 4 runs for sure. Cleveland's magic number really is 4. And then whoever has the lead after the 6th inning, like, I don't think you want to be down late against this Tigers bullpen, even though I know Will Vest is really the guy.
Will Vest has been really good in that pen.
Yeah.
Like he's probably the most underrated guy to me in that pen.
Yeah. Brendan Hannafy has been solid. Bo Brisky's been solid. I didn't realize Bo Brisky could touch 100. That was impressive to watch too. So I think you just don't want to be down late. That's the key for both these teams. We know if Cleveland's got the lead after 6, you feel really good about your chances. The Tigers, I know the Astros came back a little bit late, but you don't want to be down against them either. This is the part of the show where I'm going to make myself look stupid. So we said that the last time the Guardians played 161 games was 2016. The last time the Astros were not in the ALCS was also 2016, which is wild, by the way. So 2017 through 2023, they were in the LCS every year. That's, games or no trash cans. That's an impressive run.
Let's do a slow beat on our trash cans for him.
Slow beat for the trash cans. Yeah, count them out. I'm going to say this is going to be stupid. We didn't do predictions. So either I'm going to look really smart and everyone's going to love me, or everyone's going to hate me and save this clip for later and make me look stupid all over social media. I'm going to go World Series, Guardians, Padres. Calling it now. That's my shot. Guardians, Padres, World Series. Somebody texted me earlier today and said Guardians, Mets, World Series. And I was like, please, God, no, because I don't think I can handle if the Mets and Francisco Lindor beat the Guardians and keep their drought going. I don't think I can handle the repercussions of that. But I'm saying Guardians, Padres, World Series. Love it, hate it. I'm going to look either really smart or like a giant idiot. We didn't have time on today's show, unfortunately, to get into the Guardians pitching plan against the Tigers hitters. So we'll save that for tomorrow. So come back for that. We will preview game 1 of the ALDS on Friday. We will also talk about final roster decisions. Guardians roster is not due until the early morning of Saturday. So we won't know on Friday who it's going to be. We're definitely going to give our rosters and see how this shakes out. And we'll talk about some key matchups for game 1 and for the series. So tons and tons to get to on Friday. I'm ready to record Friday's show right now, Jeff. I'm just ready right now. Let's go.
There's so much great stuff. Like Justin was breaking down pitch by pitch how the Guardians prepare. So he is not kidding in the slightest when he says we're sitting on like 3 more shows worth of data. So you definitely want to be tuning in. I guarantee you no one else is going to go into the same level of depth and detail on how to face the Detroit Tigers. You're going to have so many great bar facts for your friends. You're just going to look like the smartest guy every time. That's our guarantee.
Only if you listen to Lockdown Guardians, though.
Yeah. Which, all these smart, cultured people do. Like all of you right now.
Yeah.
That's not self-serving at all. No. Thank you all for joining us, rating and reviewing. Downloading it helps. Make sure to tell a friend. If someone's like, hey, I want more Guardians information, we're free every day. Thank you for watching, and go Guardians, go.